All right, so you built enough now. What kind do you want?
I just want a woman that's not going to stress me out.
So how do you know, like...
Well, no, I get... No,
see?
I know what you mean. I get what you're saying. So, in that midst of building myself, yeah, I do have to have an eye on a prize. And she has to be there with me, too. But I think that is really...
All right, see, now I'm like you backwards. So now you want a wife that you got on hold instead of a wife that you got while you did the same exact thing.
Always be in a constant state of building. You should always be in a state of transition, always be in a state of change, growth, and learning. If you feel like, let me get myself together, then I'll get married, that's never going to happen. Frankly, it shouldn't happen. Typically, by the time people feel like, now I'm ready, they're in a state of decline. So I would say, don't let that be the hindrance. Don't let that be the hindrance.
You gotta be scared.
You want to build with somebody. You want to learn. Here's the thing. Marriage is the process of two becoming one. What that means is, if you think you got it all figured out, your spouse is going to work some stuff out of you that you thought you figured out.
Right.
So you need to be ready to accept that. Don't go into the marriage thinking, this is who I am, take it or leave it. This is who I am today.
Right.
But I am willing to build with you.
I disagree on that.
I'm there.
Okay.
I'm there.
Kind of.
I know.
But all these people
we talked about this before, I think.
Yeah.
Who put this in the chat to share? Was it Randy? Or was it because we've been talking about it over for the last couple of weeks or so?
So okay. So you agree? You could go first.
I mostly agree with her that having yourself together or whatever doesn't necessarily, I mean, financially anyway, it's not necessary in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mostly agree with her that two people can get married and build themselves together.
Yeah,
me and you would go back and forth that you would say the man who hasn't built himself yet, you have what's your Chris terminology for it? It's a broken man.
Yeah, he's broken.
Yeah.
And then I go into because in my...
If y'all don't know Chris terms, when he says it's a broken man, he means that the man's still building on himself. He's not all the way whole yet. So he thinks if you are still building, then you're not necessarily fixed. You're not whole. And he would recommend that women stay clear.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, that's so like, because okay, I actually need to finish that book. I had this book with many chapters, and one of the chapters that I wrote was two builders. And so basically what I said in there was that two builders can't build. Someone has to have a foundation. Cause see, I'm taking the word build literally. Mm-hmm. So it's like if we go into this house, building a house, but we ain't gonna get nothing done. Like somebody has to have a framework. Then we can start building. So so for me, it gotta be a snippet, and this is where I have to put the man in that position to be in that position first, because he's leading. You know what I mean? He's designed to lead, and she's going to be looking for him to lead. So if he's like still trying to, and then yes, the terminology I like to use, a broken man, I'm like, well, he can't lead you anywhere yet. He doesn't even know how he's to put together yet.
All right.
Because some pieces might get lost in a jigsaw puzzle. Then what? You got a different outlook now. But now you drug this woman along, and she's like, I thought we were going to Paris. And we didn't make it to Paris. Now she's pissed off, in a sense. I think in this particular thing that women have to just be patient but calculated.
All right.
Because when a man starts to build, and if he feels like he's getting close to accomplishing that, he wants the woman. He doesn't need her, he wants her. And see, I think women put themselves in that category to be needed. And I think that's where things become a little weird. He need me around him. He need me for him to make him a man. He needs me to do this. Not for success.
Right.
And that's why I even flipped it. If a man tells you as a woman, I need you around so I can be successful, you lost. That's something you shouldn't have to be. That should be in them.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Chris.
And now
I would agree. All right, so this is where I agree with Chris.
Coolidge is opening up to variety about the roles she's most
I
recognized for.
agree with Chris in the scenario that if you have to pick one person to build first and then start the marriage, then it would be the man.
Yeah.
If that's the scenario, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I don't think that scenario is necessary. And because in that scenario, if the man is going to be the one building first, he's not going to be ready until
our age.
Yeah. All right, so where does that leave women for him? That means they better be ready when they're in their 20s so the men our age can go get them. And the women our age better have already been picked when they were in their 20s.
I see the angle. No,
Yeah.
I agree with that. But it's a risk. It's more of a risk for the woman.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's more of a risk for the man who doesn't. All right, say society is right now is like snap fingers. Everybody's gonna follow this rule. The men who don't build themselves up to some arbitrary number don't get to go and pick young women to marry. So all the women who are, who look a certain way are going to get picked. All the women who have like certain amount of wifey qualities are going to get picked super fast. And then there's going to be women and men that just go off to the wayside.
Yeah. And I'm like, unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, but I don't feel like reality is like that. That's like if you want to build utopian society, then you could do that. In real life, you're gonna have two people, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know where they're gonna end up. Mm-hmm. You can tell every man to build, and like I said, it's arbitrary numbers. So your build finish line might be different from my build finish line. Mm-hmm. Like my build finish line is about $250,000. Mm-hmm. So if I wait until I make $250,000 and then go back and pick a 22-year-old, cool, great. But what happens to everybody else?
Like between. Well, see, that's where. But when I remember earlier in the show when I talked about make sure that you're not stepping stone. So like you have to like know where you stand as a woman and as a man. Like, know where you stand. Like for real. Don't guess.
Yeah, but we already eliminated that because she's talking about in a marriage. Okay. So if a man is entered into a marriage with you, then it's most likely that he's not using you for a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. So what I think is, I don't think men need women to build, but I think it makes it a lot easier for men to build when they have wives. It takes, not only does it take the extra shit off the table, and I mean the extra shit is other women. Not only does it take other women off the table, so you have to focus on building this, thing that you have, but it focuses two people on a similar goal.
Absolutely.
But
remember the question I asked like a few months ago.
Yes.
Does a man go to war first, then get married, or does he get married first and go to war?
He gets married. I always say the same thing. He gets married and goes to war.
Ideally, I don't think it's a wrong answer. I just think that how I look at it is just prioritization.
I feel like it's always the dudes in the trenches. When shit gets heavy, they reach in their jacket and they pull out their picture of their wife or the letter that they wrote before they went there.
Well, usually they die though.
That's what I meant.
Mary dies usually.
No, but they all
wasn't focused.
No, it's not that the one that married dies. I think just the one that's dying is married. They're all married, right? Except you don't take your wife's picture in your last letter out unless it's a wrap for you to give to the next person and be like, make sure my wife gets this. So their whole purpose, I think you have to have a reason to war.
I agree with that.
If like your reason can't be like financial gain, success, that's not why men war.
Yeah. Well, I think what and I just speak from my personal experience. Like, I think a man starts to seek a woman when a man's doing what he's doing. We're trying to settle, but we're trying to have.
You mean settle down?
Like, well, not like just in that format, but just have a settled mindset. Like let's go into with Thanos, right? He's doing all of this work, and then it was like at the end of it, it was like, I just want to enjoy the sunset,
Right.
and drink some lemonade, and it's like, wait, you out here doing all this, then at the end, you just want to just be at a peaceful mind state. And I think that's what men want to be at when we're working. And I think once he gets into that seeing a peaceful mindset, that's when let me seek this woman that I want now through all of this or after all of this. You know, like we're in our
Yeah, but that's not real. You're saying like you're saying like when the job is done, find a woman.
Or once the job is like once the job is like complete, like in a sense.
When it's done.
Well, I'm just saying. Well,
But that's not what happens. Like, all right, you're gonna become an RN one day.
He keeps putting this out here on me.
So
I feel like I'm done now.
Once you get there, like, are you done? Like, say you get there at 45, so you done until you 65. You could just sit and chill and be peaceful. Or do you have to work that job for 20 years?
Well, no. Of course, we're designed to work, so work is always there. It's just that once we set things up, what type of work are we having? You know what I mean? Like if I have this job that's a construction and I'm in charge of digging ditches and moving these boulders, but I want to be the truck driver one day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like once I become the truck driver, I'm still working. I still got to show up, but I'm like, hey, I'm not busting my you know what. I'm more at a settled space now, and now I'm ready to branch off of that.
All right, so you become an RN. What kind of woman do you want there? Or are you already past the point where you say, okay, now I can have one?
Yeah.
All right, so you passed that point. It's the point that you're at now, what you're doing now. You felt like you built enough. All right, so you built enough now. What kind do you want?
I just want a woman that's not going to stress me out.
So how do you know, like...
Well, no, I get... No,
see?
I know what you mean. I get what you're saying. So, in that midst of building myself, yeah, I do have to have an eye on a prize. And she has to be there with me, too. But I think that is really... All
right, see, now I'm like you backwards. So now you want a wife that you got on hold instead of a wife that you got while you did the same exact thing. It just doesn't make sense. Like, why wouldn't you pick a wife who chose you as her leader, who listened to like what you said you were gonna do, and like, okay, we'll do that then. We'll try that. Like, all right, Chris is gonna do blah blah blah. He's gonna get this. He's gonna become that. And she stuck by you, held onto your pocket or however they say. And now you get there, and it was just according to plan. There's no adjustment needed.
Well, failure.
I think what you're doing, failure is.
I know, but some people can't handle that.